unless we can take it to that next step and capture that imagination and enthusiasm, I don't think we get back to the majority. And I don't know where that leads us, but it doesn't lead us to a bright spot.
Because if you're not focused, if you don't have a national focus, how can you claim, even if you win the majority, you can't claim a mandate. All they can say is, well, that was just a negative vote. If you say, well, yeah, we had these points here, and therefore we're going to move forward with the
Well, I think so, and I think you know, you can get a long way given the anger that's out there, but you've got to take it to the next step. Bob McDonnell didn't spend a lot of time, you didn't see a lot of specifics about what he wants to do as governor, but he definitely had a positive policy that he talked about during his campaign, and I think that's definitely a part of the formula. We just have not got the consensus in Washington yet. But I'm not going to wait on others. I'm going to have my own, and other people want to copy that. That's great. But I intend to run on my own platform that tells people exactly where I stand, not just on things I voted against, and I've done a lot of that in the last 3 years, but what I want to be able to vote for.
I think when you start talking about where you stand, you ought to include with that what's your solutions to the problems, because everybody's got a stance, but I'm not hearing any solutions.
Yeah,
I wanna
no.
hear some solutions.
The contract with America was 10 principles. That's sort of the first part of that. That's where you stand. But there were 28 bills, specific bills, that were behind that. They weren't all written by the time we introduced that, but all of the principles were there. I think in my case, with what I'm going to do, I'm going to be able to point at specific bills that have been introduced into Congress, maybe not for everything that I'm going to have on my agenda, but for a lot of it. So I can say, here, you want to read the fine print? Go read it. You may not like everything you see. Give me input. Tell me what you like, what you don't like. But you'll know what I'm supporting and what I would vote for if I could bring those bills to the floor of the House for a vote over Nancy Pelosi's body. You get the last word.
Sure. You said that you don't believe that there's a candidate that would be running for the Republican Party ticket in 2012 that could capture the imagination of the nation right now.
I don't see one now that is rallying the nation and convinces me that they could get the kind of very strong majority vote. I don't see a Ronald Reagan out there right now.
What would you say to the person who has rallied people in support of the Audit the Fed bill, which gets at the source of where the overspending from government really comes from, which is the Federal Reserve System that allows the government to basically issue currency to cover whatever kind of spending it feels like? Yes,
right.
basically.
Ron Paul's a friend of mine, and I support his bill to audit the Fed, and have co-sponsored it. But Ron Paul ran the last time, and I did not see the kind of numbers and support that would get him elected president of the United States. You've got to have somebody who captures the imagination of the American people in a broad swath, in broad numbers, and brings them to these ideas. That's what we don't have. That's what Ronald Reagan did. I mean, before Ronald Reagan got elected president, I think there was not that same kind of overwhelming support for him either. I suspect he started out the presidential campaign in 1980 as an underdog. But I think that because of his ability to communicate and because he had very simple fundamental beliefs, which he communicated very well and captured people's imagination, he not only beat Jimmy Carter, he beat him very, very solidly, went on to win re-election by an enormous, what was the only state he lost was Minnesota, Mondale's home state. He carried Massachusetts. Just think about that. That's what we're looking for. Will we find them? I don't know. Bill Clinton slipped the noose in 1996. He was in a lot of trouble. We didn't have a great candidate to run against him. I like Bob Dole. I have a lot of respect for his service, for his integrity, for the sacrifice he made as a veteran. but he sure couldn't capture that imagination. And we were in the middle of that government shutdown. You remember that? And Bill Clinton was saying we need Medicare, Medicaid, environment, and something. I'm not going to cut these four. Maybe it was education. I'm going to cut these four things. Republicans are saying you're spending way too much money. We're not going to vote for any of these budgets that you have here. And people were, out complaining that they couldn't visit the Grand Canyon or they couldn't get their passport and so on. We were hanging tough. Bob Dole, running for President of the United States, the presumed front runner for the Republican nomination, and he simply threw in the towel in the middle of that whole debate. And so, while, as I say, we did succeed in getting government spending to slow its rate of increase, Bill Clinton got a lot of credit for that, not Bob Dole. John McCain, we're in the middle of a presidential election. He's got the nomination, and he goes to the podium at the convention, and he says, "You bring me a bill like that, and I will veto it." And then we get a bill like that, called TARP. He goes, he says, "I'm going to Washington to take care of this problem." He goes in to meet with the president, the secretary of the treasury, and Democratic leaders in the Congress, and he comes out and he votes for that bill. He was showing some momentum in that campaign. Would he have won? I don't know, but I think that campaign ended the day he voted for that bill. So I'm looking for the candidate for President of the United States who's going to see it through. I think Ronald Reagan did that. When he was running, not about any particular issue, he wasn't President of the United States or wasn't, a call to the White House like McCain had the opportunity to demonstrate his leadership in. We went to a debate in New Hampshire, and he showed that kind of strength just by saying, I paid for that microphone. I'm going to speak if I want to, and I'm going to tell you who else is going to get to speak. He had that kind of command and integrity and belief and passion that allowed people to believe what he said. And we need a candidate like that for President of the United States. And when we find him, we're going to win. We're going to win big, and we're going to beat Barack Obama. Thank you. God bless you all.
Well, Bob got the dress code right on the coat, but the shirt he missed.
Yeah,
This is the Hokie territory.
it is. But I just gave my orange shirt to Goodwill.
Don will be over to talk to you. All right.